it just everything about Claudia was I found really hard. Like I really fell in love with the lady. And so like seeing her, Claudia, like going through what she went through was just like I just found it really difficult.
Louis puts his life under a microscope in these first two seasons. But more than that, it's like putting his every thought and why he thinks that way under investigation, right? So, and like you as an actor are tasked with showing all of these like formative experiences of his, like the euphoric ones, the traumatizing ones, and like feeling the initial impact of them and then also like reacting to them and like unpacking them, processing them in the present day timelines years later when he's like a very different person and discovering information that redefines everything. So, and this happens in like every single episode. You get no breaks, from like digging, no breaks from digging into every corner of this guy's mind, right? I really can't think of another character in recent memory that like demands more out of an actor. So, like, how do you map Louis's brain? Because you clearly have done that. So, like, how do you do that? And was it easier or harder in season two?
Just like moment to moment. I think it's the only way to do it. I really tried it in the beginning, but for season one, I like really tried to lock in and just be like, this happened at this point, and like I tried to do like a timeline for myself, and then I think I realized as well that Rollin is also discovering things as he goes along. And I'm really glad that I never like sort of bedded like specific events in, because part of the fun is to like rediscover those events and respond to it. But I just have like a few sort of truths in my head that I always have on me about Louis, that I'm like, I know that this is something that he cannot let go of until he does at the very end, which is like, I am a more vengeful, rageful, bloodthirsty creature than I can ever admit to anybody. So I have to overcompensate constantly. That's like a thing that at least for me, like I was held on to for both seasons. I'm gonna like come across as this vampire that's like moved beyond the needs of most vampires. I'm a vegetarian vampire. I eat animals. I don't hurt humans. I have no desire to hurt. I find humans interesting. But then Rollin said something to me early on as well, that like Louis' relationship to humanity is quite anthropological. It's quite, I guess it's anthropology is the study of that, but like he doesn't see himself in that way. He does see himself above humanity. So like that is always there. I always carry that with me, and then just fight against it constantly. There's a few other things that I feel like I don't really want to share, but those things are like, as long as I have that, whatever Louis has to say or however Louis feels about any given thing, they're always going to be talking with those like things that I decided for myself. So if you do that, then you can just treat it as like moment to moment, scene by scene. Like, what is that rubbing against? And that's probably not a very good way of describing it, but I think it's almost impossible to sort of like reduce 140 whatever years into like a piece of paper, or like a week of filming. Like it just, how is he doing right now at this minute?
Yeah.
And trying. Did I just describe acting in a really long way? Or like I just.
How do you balance recalibrating for the different timelines while maintaining the thread that connects all of this together? Is it just those core tenets, or is there, what other elements are there?
No, because I think that he has to keep. One of the things I love about Louis is that he's constantly learning. Like, I don't think he's not a closed book. I think when he tries to be a closed book, he really fails at it. He's really bad at it. He overcompensates. You know, like at the end of episode 1 in season 2, where he and Armand come in, like, we're a team now. And then in episode 2, he's so cruel. It's really fun to play, but like, he's just not very good at it. He's not very good at closing himself off, I think. So yeah, he has to keep. I've completely lost my thread, but like, he has to keep learning from Daniel and from himself and from Claudia. And that's like the hardest part of it, really, for Louis, is to learn who he was through Claudia. I think he read those diaries when he was in a very different place, and probably in the grips of like a sort of like hubris, you know, like, they took her from me, I've been wrong. And now he's in a state, like throughout season 2, he's in a state of, hang on, that this was me. I did this. I wronged her. I hurt 1/3 of my, of my heart. Yeah, I think he learned, and I love that about him. It's a therapy. It is a therapy session.
Yeah.
With Daniel.
I think the mindset was kind of initially like, he wants to understand Claudia's perspective more, but did he also sense that there was something else going on? Like, I'm getting at the Armand of it all here. Why did he need to call Daniel? Like, what was the inciting incident for this?
That was never really answered for me. I've asked Rollin that since my first day on the Dubai set, and he's never really been willing to like give me a straight answer. So I just sort of decided for myself that yeah, I think it's a call for help. I think he knows, it's a cry for help. He knows that there is something there in his relationship with Armand that's disturbing him, and he can't. He feels unsettled, and I guess the last time that the truth really came out in their relationship between Louis and Armand was when they met Daniel. Like, that night, like the events of episode 5, that was the last time that he and Armand were real with each other. And look how it ended. And then he can't really remember anything. But like, I think it's I think about this thing quite a lot, about like, when was the last, I was asked a question once in therapy. I probably shouldn't be talking about this, but it's fine. It was like, when was the last time you felt safe? And it's like, it's such a huge question. Like, think about when do you actually feel safe and secure in the world? And I feel like for Louis, if you were to ask him that question, it's probably meeting Daniel. Like, they're just being this interesting, not like a receptacle, because that takes all of the humanity out of Daniel, but like, I think he saw somebody else that was really struggling, and they clicked. They just had like a kind of chemistry that Louis was really missing in his life at that point. I think that's the last time that Louis really was ever telling the truth about himself, or really feeling the truth about Claudia and that he was responsible for what happened to her. And obviously what he does when he goes out into the sun, that's a very significant moment I think he's been burying. So the first person you're gonna cool to. And I think Louis and Armand have been watching Daniel like, all this for decades. They know, they're keeping up. I mean, that's not really a secret, actually. Louis says that he's been following his career the whole time. And then we find out why. But yeah, I think that there's that exchange that they have. What Louis gives Daniel and what Daniel has given Louis before that, which is just to listen. I think he's the only person you can trust to like try and get this thing out of him, whatever this little like thing that's like scratching at him, which is, I can't trust this person. I can't trust this person that I've lived with and have entrusted my life to. And he was right. He was right too.
Yeah, he definitely, his gut was right there, very unfortunately. And to talk more about episode 5, you filmed that was the first thing you filmed of the season. And so that you are so boring. That fight scene with Armand was Assad's first like true scene as Armand for season 2. And what, if anything, did you two discover when filming that scene together that helped inform how you approached the scenes from the earlier episodes that you filmed after episode 5?
That's a really good question. Well, we hadn't really played their dynamic up to that point. Like, obviously we knew he was Armand when we were shooting, but we never wanted to give the game away. So it was, we sort of didn't, and then there wasn't like a huge opportunity in season 1 either for me and Assad to sort of like wink too much at it. Yeah, what did we discover? I think that we have quite different argument styles. Maybe. I think Assad and I mean, I can't speak for him, but I think we did just sort of really wind each other up as we were going. And we did, and the amazing thing with that scene is that they cross shot. They're just like, you can just shout over each other, it's fine. We don't have to like, you know. Is that true? It's the odyssey of recollection. It's been such a long time. No, we didn't. We had to like leave spaces for each other. But I think we did, the first time we did it, we did just like go. Like, we just went at each other, just went for it. And it was really exciting. I think that's probably what I learned. I was like, this is really exciting, and this dynamic between us is going to be really exciting. And how different we are and how different the characters are from each other is going to create a completely different kind of chemistry to the chemistry that Louis and Claudia have, or Louis and Lestat have. So I think that's what I learned from that scene. Yeah,
it's one of my favorite scenes of the season, and just knowing that it was your first one together for season 2, that makes it more electric. You know, it's like the excitement of the first day back at work kind of energy, and I think that really added to it. It's so fun to watch,
different as well. Like Luke and I, we shot that episode in sequence basically. So Luke and I have been building a completely different dynamic leading up to that. And then Assad arrived and it was like, it's on. Okay. Yeah.
It changes the vibe for sure. And in the first Dreamstot scene in season 2, it's like Louis' feelings there. It's like he's scared that Lestat could really be dead, and he's scared that he could have survived. He's terrified of him, and he loves him. Like he's afraid of what Claudia will think if he's to tell her any of what he's experiencing right now, right? So this feels like the true like gothic horror of the show, and that we're exploring some really dark corners of Louis' mind here. What is it like for you to hold space for these really complicated, contradicting feelings that Louis requires you to feel, you know? And was there a scene this season that was like particularly difficult to hold that space for?
In terms of what it's like, it's what is so fun about working on this show is you are asked to hold 10 things in your mind at once, plus this like beautiful writing that you don't want to fuck up. Like it's it's really challenging, but it also, to be completely honest, that's sort of what my brain is like anyway. Like I do have a million things in my brain constantly going, and somehow working on this show helps me to kind of focus it into Louis, and I can just think about him and think about what he's holding. So it like in some ways it's the most difficult thing and the most kind of calming and cathartic thing about working on the show. In terms of like a really dark thing, I think it's just everything about Claudia I found really hard. Like I really fell in love with the lady, and so like seeing her, Claudia, like going through what she went through was just like, I just found it really difficult. And I'm a parent, that also kind of like comes into it. Obviously their dynamics are complicated. He's not her dad, sort of is, but he's like not as well. Yeah, I think most of the Claudia stuff was pretty rough. Like the aftermath of her death. And then it's all of it is the aftermath of her death. Like all of it in Dubai, everything in the present, she's like echoing through it. That final scene I found really hard to go through, and I never wanted it to be about violence. Like I talked to Ronan about it a lot. The final moment where the vampires were all threatening him, I was like, Louis has found such a level of peace and has reconnected with Paul and with Claudia. He's taken accountability. I just did not want that moment to be violent. I didn't want it to be about Louis becoming a badass. It had to be about him, like, for the first time in his existence, accepting himself. And I found that really emotional. I didn't get through that many of those tapes because I was just finding it really, and also Levin played me Daniel Hart's music just before it, which probably wasn't that helpful. So yeah, I found that weirdly hard, and it also felt really pressurized, like a really important moment. And I was like, this is the last time you ever see Louis. Like it has to, like I wanted it to have that kind of feeling to it, that like it completes something for this character. It holds him somewhere that you can feel episode 1. You feel that guy that pulled the knife and just so clearly hates himself, and because he hates himself, he takes it out on everybody else. And I wanted to see him like breathing and not holding a million things in his head and feeling peaceful. And so conversely, I did that, and Jacob was holding a million things in his head for Louis, on Louis' behalf. So yeah, that was hard.
Yeah.
That was sort of the hardest scene in the whole season. In the whole 2 seasons, for me, that was the hardest thing.
I mean, it's bringing it all to a close, and it's literally just the final frame of this first story is just your face, and so your performance there, the ending is riding on that, So there's lots that's a heavy weight to carry, but it is such a stark difference between Louis' opening shot in season 1, episode 1, and that final one. Those are 2 different people. You can see it in the eyes, through the lenses, it's completely different. It's really astounding, honestly. Earlier you said that this is the last time we see Louis, but we know Louis is coming back in season 3. So can you give any?
I just mean, I just meant that like this like season 1 and 2 are Louis. It's like this Louis story with Louis and Claudia, and Lestats too. But like, you know, he's not there to speak for himself, and Claudia is through her diaries. So I just meant that like, if that was the culmination of Louis' version of events, that's the last thing that you're gonna take from his specific version of things, then it had to close that off, you know. Like I didn't want it to be like a sort of Rollin would never want to do this anyway, but I didn't want it to be like a sort of sequel tease or like Louis is about to go like full. It had to feel satisfying and feel about like, it had to feel like it was about closure, is what I mean. I don't mean like, you know, that's it, you'll never see Louis again.
Yeah, and he's going to be a brand new version when we see him next, and it's going to be really exciting. You can't say anything about that. Yeah, I know. When it comes to Claudia, there is a lot of talk about post finale, like lots of talk about who saved Louis, but not always as much about why Claudia wasn't saved, you know? And you said in the past that like Lestat was like too weak to save both of them or all three of them, Madeline included. But how does Louis contend with this reality in 2022? It's again having to hold these really complicated feelings of, I'm alive, okay, great, because of this, but also like Claudia is dead. How does he contend with this when he sees him again in 2022?
I don't know if he's necessarily there yet. You know, I don't know if he has really. Louis is complicated. He's complicated, you know. Like, I think Jacob would have preferred that he saved Claudia. I don't know. I think that's probably a confusing thing for Louis, you know, that he wanted to live, that he wanted her to live. But I think when he and Lestat see each other again, I think that is more about him accepting vampirism as a gift. That's what that is about, more than it is about Claudia's. It is about Claudia's death, but I think it's more about like, we're both still not okay, right? Like, you're still not okay with what happened. You still miss her. You still think about her constantly. And then the reconciliation is more about like, my life began when I met you. You know, this version of my life began when I met you, and I didn't appreciate that until this moment. So thank you for that. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure that Louis has kind of accepted the choice that was made there.
Yeah, and it's very new information to him, so it would be shocking if he did, you know? Because he left Dubai real quick to go reunite with Lestat after he discovered this information.
Yeah. The dress, him displaying the dress like that, though, I think is also, in part, it is like, well, I survived, but I have to remember her. I have to keep her here. I can't keep like trying to push her out of my brain for self-preservation. I have to hold space for her and for Paul. So it's a version of acceptance.
Yeah, he's accepted that he's going to carry this with him forever. He's not going to repress it anymore. Yeah. I asked Sam this question as well when he was in the office a couple weeks ago. It was written into the finale script, of course, that you and Sam would say words to each other that only you would know in character. So, what does it mean to you to have been given that opportunity to put that personal stamp on your characters without any writing to guide you?
Um, it was it, it was a bit it was a bit stressful. I was like, this is a lot of pressure because I know as well that Sam will like for Sam it will become it's canon. He's gonna hold that now going forward. Like he's gonna take that with him into season three, and I knew he would. Like I'm pretty sure he even said to me like, well, what you say to me is is gonna be a part of Lestat now. Um, so yeah, it was quite a lot of pressure. We tried to talk about it a little bit, and then we were like, it's more fun if we just don't tell each other what we're gonna say. We just need to agree on like an order of how things are gonna go, so we don't just like blurt out at the same time. Yeah, I thought it was fun. Rollin texted me first, and he was like, "I've got this idea. Sam's gonna hate it. Can you like, what do you think?" And he told me the idea, and he like sent me a screenshot of that thing, and I was like, "Sam is gonna hate that, yeah, but that's kind of partly why we should do it." Like, again, I don't know why. I want to wind them up all the time. Yeah, I just thought it was fun, and then I was like, oh, I actually have to do this, and it's it can't be. Do you know what? I'm not gonna give anything away. Like I'm not. I don't. I need to just keep it. I just keep it. What was said.